Campus Reporter's Signature Spaces are special episodes created to cover signature projects of architects and designers. This season is happening in association with Amulya Mica. Now, a few words about our esteemed partner, Amulya Mica. Amulya Mica is one of the growing laminate brands in India, a premium brand of Purbanchal Laminates Private Limited. With a vision to build an extraordinary organization, it has presence in more than 24 countries, more than 70 distributors and 3,000 dealers. Today, Amulya Mica is a government-recognized star export house, a renowned name in the Indian laminate industry, and it is emerging as one of the major players in the global market. We will showcase their presentation shortly. In the meantime, let us check out the signature projects.
This project, we won this competition around 4-5 years back. Phase 1 existed, and in the phase 1 they had around six hot buildings, and the campus was given for us for master planning and doing construction worth around 1100 crore rupees, and doing the complete planning for all the phase 1, 2, 3 and 4. Totally is supposed to house approximately 14,000 students, which is the given strength to us. And the campus has to be done in a fashion that it can house today's and the future needs of the students in a fashion that they find the campus more interactive than rest of the campuses in the world. Wherein I'll show you the total campus basically is approximately 1,000 acres. Out of which around 600 something acres, 640 odd acres is there with us, which we have to develop today, and 350 acres we have to do planning for the, maybe that will happen after 2031. So till then we had a few buildings. The administrative building was partially there. There were 2 hostels which we had, one for the girls, other for the boys. They were facing a lot of, they had a few small blocks of engineering like electrical infrastructure, etc., which were spread around. You can see the gray colors. These were the buildings which were already existing. So the challenge was to weave the total infrastructure in a fashion that we make composite master plan, which is future friendly and can handle the future needs of the people. When we, the larger circle which you see in this area is the main interactive circle where the total student strength of approximately 5,000 students can also interact between them. We thought of conditioning this infrastructure with passive and active means, and we are going to get LEED Platinum for this infrastructure. And we have done around 350 square feet per ton, which is 4.5 times the normal people have been targeting. So this infrastructure will be consuming approximately 20% power than most of the I should say inefficient buildings. So this is a very different thought process which ever any IIT or any education institution has ever used, especially in our country. I'm not aware of the rest of the world, but I haven't seen such an infrastructure. And you can see a lot of interactive spaces happening these areas. So a lot of places are there, and this comes on the central axis in line with the academic building from where people are moving. This is how the buildings are going to look. You can see the buildings are basically on the ventilated and air conditioning format. The terraces above are basically used as small, I should say, open air theaters of the same block. You can see the central landscaping, lush green trees and a lot of water elements in this. And on both the corners, you can see a lot of interactive spaces where students can interact out of the classes, and even there's a high format where they can have outdoor presentations also in these greens which have been created. Coming to the hostel block, on the left hand side you see the campus basically divides like this. On the left hand side is basically the residential enclave, and the right hand side is basically the academic enclave. So you can see all the academics happening on this side, and once you cross the road, basically all this residential campus happens for boys and 3 hostels for girls. So the hostel concept also, which we thought was, it should be again on a interactive format, and they're all single room occupancy. And hostel, even the what we have thought of it done is that the ground at the lower level you see there's large built mass. This is basically their common areas, their dining blocks, and their indoor recreational activities. The left and the right eye block, which can easily be locked into 6 segments each. So whenever they want, they can have only 40, 60 students in a one block. Rest blocks can be kept closed also in case they want. Coming to all the building forms and shapes which you'll see, they're all new to the industry which we are giving. This built form of the administrative building, this auditorium, this is coming very close to the academic building. This has been derived from basically the various fingers which are basically giving passive lighting. You can see in this corners, because there's a large challenge provided for these buildings. What happens is a lot of people make building with dead walls, which is not giving any light or proper ventilation. So whenever you go to any auditorium building which is not used since last 15-20 days, so whenever some function is happening, you will see some smell of some moisture coming in all these areas. That is basically when we don't provide any ventilation into the infrastructure. So by these sheer walls and slits, we have created a beautiful architecture wherein this is giving me passive ventilation also, passive cooling also. And when we switch on the lights, they create a beautiful illusion, and the lighting impact, the building impact is basically driven from these lights which we are getting. The director, Professor Raja Kumar, he gives a lot of emphasis to sports. So to create steps of sports areas for people to watch, we have just cut and fill some soil components, so that out of the natural contours, we have created sittings where the students and people can watch the sports. So this is the total campus. I can share with the total design cost of the project, approximately 4,000 crore rupees. And we are executing buildings at approximately about 1,200 crore rupees.
This is a bar that we asked to do in the center of town, a great location, right in the center of town, in the CBD of Bangalore. It was located pretty much in the central business district, where you've got some of the most interesting architecture around. It's pretty much the hub of Bangalore. And this was the rooftop of a particular building called Scarve on the 21st floor. And these are some of the buildings around it, which give you a view to each of these locations from up there. This was the space. The site is on the 21st floor. And what we wanted really, that the concept really arose from, these little lights that we saw in the distance. And we said, how can we make this a kind of an immersive experience and a feeling of being suspended in the sky, where the entire lit city became part of this experience, almost like being sort of immersed in an experience that is infinite. That's a kind of a floor plan that shows some of the workings of the solar pattern and how we organized our spaces to avoid too much direct sunlight and heat from spaces that needed to open out towards the afternoon and the evening. So our services pretty much blocked the harsh sunlight, and we made a kind of a solar buffer so that the spaces wouldn't get heated up. And by doing so, we also made sure that we didn't require too much air conditioning, and we could leave certain spaces without air conditioning them. So that sort of gives you an organization of the spaces. This sort of shows you that, hospitality design is not just about making things look beautiful, but it's also about, there's a lot of thinking that goes in terms of making the spaces sustainable, not just in terms of energy, but also in terms of costs. And by virtue of organizing our spaces like the way we did, we made sure that the client didn't have huge electricity bills because of the air conditioning loads having come down majorly. That's the floor plan. You know, this shows you that towards one side, which is the west, is where we created the solar buffer, and we also have the kitchen and all your back of house spaces towards the west, whereas the north and the east was where we had your outdoor spaces opening out. Towards the south, we had the air-conditioned space. So it was a fairly large space, almost about 10 to 12,000 square feet, including a terrace level, which is yet to open up. And that was the lounge on top, which is going to be the private party lounge, which is yet to open up. So if you look at the section through the spaces, we had a central atrium, which became the mainstay of the space, which connected basically the indoor space to the semi-outdoor space. And that sort of became the focal point of the whole restaurant, which connected the two spaces together. So the idea was to create various textures from natural materials and lighting. So the whole restaurant was really a play of natural materials and lighting. And the inspiration really came from Japanese tea homes. This is a beautiful image that shows just the sensitivity of how the indoor space interacts with the outdoor space with such simple screens that are separating the two spaces. So if you look at the material palette, it was very natural, literally borrowed from the Japanese tea house. If you look at Japanese tea houses, they've got clay tiles, they've got a lot of granite, gravel, they've got a lot of texture, they've got a lot of wood, and they've got a lot of soft lighting. And we use that along with certain metallic textures to create a space that was luxe and fun to be in. The mainstay of the space, which was the open courtyard, we actually use these stone chips, which were actually found in a quarry, which were waste stone. And we used them in a mesh, and with interesting use of lighting, we created an effect of a kind of a twinkling-like effect that came out of this treatment, which became the mainstay of the space, which is quite breathtaking when you enter it at night. And if you look at the rest of the lighting or rest of the spaces, I think it's just intelligent use of lighting and pattern and texture. So it sort of gives you an idea of how we didn't want to distinguish between the inside and the outside spaces. They were pretty much visualized as one. So there's no real separator in terms of walls or glass between this part of the semi-outdoor space and the outdoor, and the further link that we have to the horizon and the city lights. That gives you an idea of the textures that are formed at night with the interesting use of this stone veneer that we used on the ceiling. It sort of almost gives it a very interesting cloudy effect that almost feels like you're outdoors, even though you have a roof above you. A few more images of the terrace space and overlooking the semi-indoor space. That was what sort of was the mainstay of the space, right in the center of the space, connecting various spaces, was this towering backlit gabion wall that we customized to sort of give a wow effect as soon as one came in. So the use of waste material over here again sort of amplified our love for use of materials that are not necessarily very expensive and that are high in carbon footprint. And that's a corridor linking the indoor and the outdoor spaces, teppanyaki counter that links the semi-covered spaces, the courtyard, as well as the indoor spaces. And this is the indoor space, which again sort of gives you a feeling of sitting under the clouds. So the idea of being outdoors gets amplified because of the effect of this stone veneer, which almost looks like clouds on the ceiling. The clay tiles we used as a cladding in front of the bar, which gave a very interesting texture. So it was a highly textured space, and it got amplified with the right kind of lighting. That, of course, is the party space upstairs, which is coming together and not yet complete. And a few images of how the space got transformed from a bare terrace into a space that was warm, inviting, fun, and a space that people really look forward to going to spend a great evening out with the Bangalore weather that gets amplified.
Dwelling rightfully, you would know in a few moments. So the client's brief was a 3,000 square feet living space, which was specifically used for entertaining. The bedrooms and the livable areas were on the upper floors, and this particular mansion is an age-old mansion of a typical Marwari joint family in Calcutta. So the beautiful garden at the back that you see could be actually opened up and seen from all angles. In the true sense of the word, opening up space inside out was the key. So the whole layout has been envisaged in that manner. You have to also note that if it was meant to be as a entertainment space, at a time there would be at least 20 people in this large space, hanging around. So the mood board that was designed was specific to very, very muted tones, very tactile finishes. That's a bird's eye view of the layout, where you can see the large living spaces open up to a veranda, which is partially covered, and then to a large garden. That's the entrance and the entrance foyer, which is basically very, very bare, considering that during parties this could be used as a spillover or as an area to lay the food, etc. So this was kept to a extremely bare minimum feel with just basic interior architecture done. That's the view from the inside towards the main door. So this is on the ground floor, and the car literally drops you in front of the door. It's a beautiful porch. So the foyer tones were again kept very rustic, raw, solid log kept there, and the tones on the walls are very well textured to a concrete feel. The wood is a basic teak exposed finish and so on, clubbed with a lot of plants. So the feel continues into the powder toilet, which has a leather finish marble that has, again, as I said, the tactile finishes were very important. It opens up to this beautiful large louvered window that encases a vertical garden as well as lovely greens in there. The awe-inspiring entry into this large living room space is firstly because of one large seating that is placed together. It is anchored by these four very, very huge, gigantic tables. They form a space of 8 feet by 8 feet, but yet they are 4 separate tables that can easily be brought together. The idea is, again, keep in mind that it's not meant as a residential living room. It's an entertainment living room, and many people hang around. So the table is nearest to anyone sitting, next to each other. And we curated these tables on site out of black metal and walnut wood, and they stand there anchoring the whole space very well. The fabrics, the finishes on the walls, again, is muted grays. Even the linen on the curtains is so basic. Actually, this whole look is so basic, and that reminds me that in simplicity is actually the real beauty. The furniture is by Casa International, and they have excellent retro finish sofas and armchairs. And we felt that this retro finish look, bring the memories back of the old house, yet be extremely modernized, and the design that they have. The floatings on the wall are of saw-cut oak, customized on site, and they are completely raw. There's a corner sitting at a little alcove, which is slightly roundish in nature, and these small pockets that spring out of the main sitting really help in a large gathering where say 4-5 people you want to just get together and have another conversation. Needless to say, both of them really overlook the beautiful garden. If you see the windows at the back, they overlook the very large garden. The focal point of the entire space is actually the bar. The bar is an extremely attractive point right at the center of the whole space, and this is done with actual casted concrete on site. It's completely concrete and just lacquered to maintain the look and the finish of concrete. At the backdrop is a Janardhan human anthropometric figure made in metal, and I feel that the entire space, the entire frame is just perfect and placed very well right in the center of the entire space. From the bar area is what you see at the farther end is a sit-down dining tabletop, and when I say sit down, I actually mean this live counter that can be run because the owners also like live cooking and they like to cook, and they can cook and serve it right there. The dining table is again a very, very, it has a story of its own. It was a single piece, but then yes, crafted into two slices. And instead of a typical drop-down light that comes over a table, we chose to keep a very, very fluid, and if you see the lights on the top of the table, they kind of direct, and they could be changed, they could be twisted. So each time you look at the so-called chandelier or fitting, it's actually different. You could make it look to various different ways at every party. On the other side of the dining table is this small patio where it is a lovely corner that looks into 270 degrees of the garden outside. The flooring in this and dining area is seamless concrete. It's a microcrete, and at that time, 3 years back, it was an extremely new entrant and was extremely admired as to no joints. So the areas flow into each other very well, and we put in this beautiful niche for the family that also enjoys playing cards or board games during get-togethers. Has these areas specifically defined to different activities, yet being such a large family, everybody feels that he's being catered to, he's being looked after, and has a place that can be very flexible yet his own. So that's look from the veranda. So all these spaces open up to the veranda, that opens up to a garden, that opens up to a outhouse. So you see the space is very expansive in nature and truly inside out feel. This particular project is stationed right in the heart of the city.
We are halfway through and it's time to showcase the remaining projects. But before that, let us watch the presentations from Surfaces Reporter's Signature Spaces partner, Amulya Mica.
ये कहानी है एक सपने की। सन 1997 में पूर्वी भारत के आंचल से निकला एक सपना पश्चिमी छोर पर स्थित गुजरात की गोद में जा बसा। मानो पहाड़ों को चीरती एक नदी समंदर से जा मिली हो। ये कहानी है उसी सपने की जिसने करोड़ों घरों को बनाया सपनों का मंदिर। ये कहानी है उसी सपने की जिसने ऑफिस को बनाया एक ड्रीम डेस्टिनेशन। स्वप्न दृष्टा श्री राकेश अग्रवाल का ये सपना श्री बनवारीलाल अग्रवाल के मार्गदर्शन में आज उभरा है एक अद्वितीय हकीकत बनकर। अमूल्य घर सजाए साथ निभाए। वर्ष 2004 में अमूल्य माइका लेमिनेट्स की स्थापना के साथ शुरू हुआ भारत के घर घर को सजाने का एक सफर। 2017 में अमूल्य WPC भी बना इस सफर में साझेदार। चेयरमैन श्री ओम प्रकाश अग्रवाल तथा मैनेजिंग डायरेक्टर्स श्री राकेश अग्रवाल, श्री मुकेश अग्रवाल और श्री गिरधारीलाल डोकनिया की लीडरशिप में आज सिर्फ 15 साल की छोटी सी अवधि में अमूल्य बना है लाखों घरों के इंटीरियर्स की जान और हजारों ऑफिसेज की नई पहचान। ये 15 साल पूर्वांचल के लिए था अमूल्य को महज एक स्टार्टअप से लेकर एक ब्रांड के तौर पर स्थापित करने का सफर। कुछ गिने चुने प्रोडक्ट से लेकर 600 डिजाइन्स, और 100 फिनिशेस की क्षमता हासिल करने का सफर। एक छोटी सी वर्कफोर्स से लेकर 29 स्टेट्स, 400 से ज्यादा शहर, 70 डिस्ट्रीब्यूटर्स, 3000 से ज्यादा डीलर्स, और 130 से ज्यादा सेल्स पर्सन की एक फौज तैयार करने का एक सफर। गांधीधाम की एक छोटी मैन्युफैक्चरिंग यूनिट से अमूल्य को 20 से ज्यादा देशों तक ले जाने का सफर। आज अमूल्य देश के सबसे तेजी से बढ़ रहे लेमिनेट्स उत्पादों में से एक है। इसीलिए तो भारत सरकार से अमूल्य ने पाया है एक्सपोर्ट हाउस स्टेटस। और तो और आए दिन अमूल्य को मिलते रहते हैं विशेषतम पुरस्कार। और ऐसा हो भी क्यों नहीं, सुपीरियर टेक्नोलॉजी से लेकर ए ग्रेड रॉ मटेरियल, लेमिनेट्स की बेजोड़ क्वालिटी प्रदान करने के लिए प्रोडक्शन के एक एक पहलू पर अमूल्य करता है नो कॉम्प्रोमाइज। पर्यावरण और अपनी कॉर्पोरेट सोशल रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी की ओर भी है अमूल्य पूरी तरह से जागृत। और अमूल्य की सफलता का राज हमारे वर्कर्स, हमारे डीलर्स और हमारे कस्टमर्स का प्यार। उनका प्यार ही तो है जो रहा है हमारी सफलता का सच्चा साझेदार। आइए फिर एक बार एक नई इनिंग्स में फॉर्म करते हैं एक नई पार्टनरशिप।
साथियों, हम निकले थे अकेले, कारवां बनता चला गया। आज मुझे गर्व है कि आप सब भी मेरे साथ जुड़े हुए हैं। मैं इस बात पर यकीन रखता हूं कि यदि आपका साथ मिलता रहा तो हम अपने मंजिल पथ पर बढ़ते चलेंगे।
हम और अमूल्य, आइए घर बनाए, घर सजाए। अमूल्य घर सजाए साथ निभाए।
the idea is coming from the Terai region of the eastern UP. So there is a whole belt of wetlands in the Nepal border, the Gorakhpur area, and the project is based out in Gorakhpur, eastern UP. The name came from there, and we try to explore the whole idea of what Terai is actually. So the idea came in it's more of a wetland where you're getting the greenery all around, there is sky on the top, and red soil altogether. So the whole project revolves around the idea of bringing that greenery, building the Terai into the interior spaces and creating a natural space for the dining. So in the project, this prickiness continues on the surfaces, this friskiness continues on all the elements, the furniture and everything has been customized in a way. When we are half done with the project construction, major struggle came into our way to integrate a lift into the whole building. So we're dealing with the users on one side because we have to take it's a hospitality project. So the people will be coming from one side and we are greeting them over there, and how we can have two entrances all together. Then we just start imbibing in the whole essence of Terai into the spaces, into the materials. So we integrated the natural clay products even on the flooring. So we use the clay tiles because Gorakhpur is quite famous for its clay products, the clay tiles. So we use that particular skill of the people over there and parallelly get it from the nearby area. And we use a lot of raw wood into the space, bringing the fluidity into the space. So color is something that we try to use as an element over there as a background. So this is how we moved ahead. So in the hospitality project, there's certain constraint we have to deal with the layout in terms of how many people. So there is setting created for 2 people, 4 people, a lot of permutation combinations. It's a small space of 2,500 square foot area. So we have to accommodate certain number of people. The client want to have a live kitchen. So we dealt with the hospitality concept. We got a really amazing hospitality concept, standards. We just kept the color palette to be in parallel, the shades of teal and the plenty of natural flawless wood we have used as part of the space. Even the whole space is being created there is a layer of red on the floors, the clay tiles. Parallelly there is a layer of wood and the green soil on the fascia on the front, and there is a blue sky altogether. The ceiling is all blue altogether. We use the exposed concrete on one part of it just to make it more conducive, to make it more rustic. So even we just uses the lime mosses on the surfaces of the walls. So that makes the whole space light. The people, the children, everybody is coming over the space and just enjoying that particular space, by interacting with the plants. So we integrated this greenery into the interior spiral. And some of the spaces which are certain constraint to use the natural plants, we use the artificial too, just for aesthetics purpose, because we have to take care of the hygiene of the food also. So there is 3-4 major elements which I want to discuss over here. Is there's a counter, there's a bar counter is a very important element. So we integrated the fluvials, we integrated the waves of the Terai into the space, into that particular element. Even the facade is completely came out in the wood, and parallelly all the wavy installation all over suspended over the ceiling. I also like to share some of that visualizations with you parallelly. So this is how that whole layer of that particular elements has been placed over in the small spaces. This is how the space looks like. So there is a metal screen in between, there is a background. So we use the chisel out the whole plaster and put an installation over there with the lighting in parallel, and just a small layer of a transparent silicon paint over it, so that the dust will not come out into the food and to make it more hygienic for the people. This is how the counter looking like. So there is all layers of the red, blue, and even the rustiqueness of wood and the rawness of concrete, all together integrated to craft this space. Even the furniture has been customized and designed as per the requirement and parallelly. So we use this floral pattern on the fabric on the chairs to make it more minimal. So we use the metal bars as a component of design for the furniture, just to make it more minimal. The furniture should not be that overwhelming element altogether in design. They're looking into the economics, looking into the revenue is also very important. So they want to have a space where the people, the family or a group of people want to have a small party area over there. So we crafted this space as in a completely minimal, just 2 surfaces integrating with the wood and the concrete and the suspended seating, all curvilinear more of a depicting the waves and this fluidity of the whole space. And this is how the facade is coming out. This is the lighting installation.
a present house that we had completed a while ago in Kerala called the Monsoon House. This is from the entrance. The site is in Thrissur and the residence is actually 38,000 square feet. It's situated in a 1.5 acre site, and then this is the foyer. In this particular space, what we've tried to do is create a frame with these mosaic called stitches, and if you see on to the floor, we have created an inlay pattern which is floral and asymmetrical, and the kind of furniture that we have added is also very asymmetrical, and then when you see with flooring and the furniture together, they make a very nice composition. The same flooring that how we kind of created that whole pattern. We actually got workers from Agra to do this for us. It was all, we made a huge stencil, we kind of created that pattern onto the floor, and the carving was done and everything was done in situ. So this is the image that you see once you come into the main door. We have a nice courtyard because Kerala is a humid place. We kind of incorporated a courtyard to reduce the humidity inside. If you see, the courtyard is centrally located, and it kind of, from all rooms you can see the landscape courtyard. It kind of feels really nice to have greenery inside the home. And also because it's a double height space, it kind of opens up the entire space for us visually as well. Beyond the courtyard is the informal living area. Here, especially due to some constraints, we were not able to achieve the large heights that we've given in the other rooms. Because of that, we kind of had the mirrored ceiling just to open up we have windows all around. It feels like as if you're sitting in the midst of landscape. This is the formal dining space. Here also we've kept muted shades. If you see the entire house, we've got the same flooring material because we kind of wanted to enhance the volume. So we didn't want to break the spaces visually. We wanted something that kind of unifies the whole space. And in terms of furniture, we have kind of used a few pop of colors and a few bold colors just to make them stand out. This is the staircase. This is also a double height space, and over here we've used a very interesting tile on the walls. It's a marble tile, and if you see those motifs, they are carved and they are gilded, so it kind of gives you that 3D effect, and we've used this on the entire wall just to enhance that whole volume. And if you see those chandeliers, they drop down all the way from the ceiling almost to just a few feet from the ground floor. That kind of still enhances the volume. So if you see on the left hand side, we have the powder room. So the entire room, we've kept it open. We didn't want to make it like just another bathroom where you have wash basin we didn't want to create something like that. We wanted to create a space which we wanted to make it more sculptural. If you see the wash basin, it's made entirely out of bronze, and itself looks very sculptural. And the kind of motifs and the inlay that we've carried on from the foyer into this space. So it kind of starts from the flooring, it goes on to the wall, and the entire room, I can say, it doesn't feel like a washroom. That's the kind of facial quality that we wanted to bring in. And in terms of material, we've kind of used the same material throughout the space, make it look bigger than what it is. And on the right hand side, this is the powder room. Here as well, the wash basin is very decorative. It was the same spatial quality that we were looking at even here. On the left hand side, if you see, we've kind of used the same marble, but used it as slats. So it gives a very different texture to the same marble that we've used in the entire room. This is the informal dining. Here as well, and we've introduced color in terms of furniture and some accessories. Especially here, we've kind of changed the flooring pattern a bit, because this, on the front, if you see, we have those huge French doors opening up. So it kind of gets exposed to natural elements like your rain. So here we wanted to use another material that could withstand that weather. This is one of the daughter's bedroom, and here as well, this entire house is covered with landscape, and it has a view to the backwaters behind. So what we've done is we've kind of taken those elements from nature and we've recreated the same thing in terms of either a wall panelings or your curtains. If you see the bed back, we've got a wallpaper that it shows some branches. So we're kind of trying to replicate nature. And also in terms of color palette, it's very neutral. It's a nice soft pink, and that we have carried out throughout the room. Especially in this home, the bedrooms and bathrooms are almost similar in size. So visually, we wanted to treat the entire room and bathroom as one space. These are some of the site images. This is a view of the courtyard space from the first floor, and as you can see, most of the colors either brown and beige, so that's continued throughout the house. This is the formal living area. This was something that we added little after we handed over the entire house to them, and over here we wanted to create a space that was complementing the other part of the house but was still holding its own identity. Over here, if you see, the flooring is very elaborate, but we've got the same color tones repeating here as well. This is almost a triple height space, and we have the front, the northern wall completely opened up, and we have these nice soft curtains, almost a light champagne gold, falling all the way from the third floor. Over here, what we've done is on the walls, we've created a texture with the marble itself, which is in the same color tone as the flooring in the rest of the house. So it kind of, looks like it's part of the house, but we wanted to, make it really stand out. The chandeliers here, we've gone in for these real elaborate, glass chandelier. It has a few colors, and also the motif, they have birds on it, and we kind of use the same motifs in the entire house but in different ways. Even in terms of furniture, we use the same color palette, and we've kind of given that pop of color in terms of green chairs that complements the green wall on the left hand side. This wall, it's a quartz material. It's a very tough material to handle because we had such good craftsmen around. They were able to achieve rounded surfaces on it. These are some of the site images. These are some of our craftsmen at work. And on the right hand side is the powder room. We wanted to bring in the same sensibilities as outside, and we've used the same materials but in a very different way as to enhance this space. And we've brought in a little landscape inside just to make it more cheerful. So this is the mezzanine of the same living room. Once you come up, we have this nice cozy space. We've used wood flooring to get that sense of warmth. Here we created a nice small library just so the owner could, have a nice fill out space. The highlight of this is these light fixtures that come from the railing and kind of, define that entire long space that we have. This is a small ante space just before you enter the living room. We've kind of used, this is like a mix of, antique accessories, and then we've got these chandeliers, brass chandeliers, just to complement the entire space.
Yeah, so this particular project, this is really near and dear to me because we completed just about 3 months or 6 months before the lockdown this started. And it's located in one of the very posh area of Calcutta, near Minto Park, in Astoria building. It's about 5,500 square feet of the total built up area. So basically this is the flat. It is one flat on one floor. So we got the opportunity to do the entire lift lobby here. And we provided this glass mosaic in the center as a carpet, which immediately catches the attention as you get down from the lift. And apart from this, since it's a very linear rectangular-ish kind of a space, so we adorn one of the wall with the mirrors to make it look more spacious. The indoor is really little grand. The grandness, again, how it was achieved first, so we increased the height of the door here and the width also a little bit, so we could have 2 doors, and the door was like inlaid with the mother of pearl. And not just the mother of pearl, there's little lining of metal on both the side of the mother of pearl. Once you enter the flat, immediately what you see is this onyx cladded wall on the right, which is a backdrop for the day bed. And this wall, it has been framed with the molded marble along with the thin metal frame as well, which makes it look complete. And then also you get the glimpse into the passage which is leading to all the 4 bedrooms. Okay, now this passage is basically a little narrower passage, and what we tried to do here, we did little inlay on the floor, and the ceiling we provided with the bronze mirror, and in a fashion like it is acting as a light source also. And right at the end of the passage, you will be able to see a nice art piece which is also a light. And one of the side of the wall, again here also we played with mirror, because this is very narrow space, so it gives it a very broader, wider look. And on the left hand side of this entrance door, they have the sitting area. Since this entire one of the wall was completely glass, so what we did behind the sofa is quite luxurious. So behind the sofa, we provided very muted but again a very rich fabric, velvet fabric curtains, without any designs on it, because we wanted other things to speak about the space. The TV wall, you will be able to see, it's a big, huge wall. Apart from the TV, we played with color polycoat on the surround as a framework. And there is this wallpaper also, which is matte metallic, which is making it look very complete. Then as you enter the dining space, this entire space, if you see, it's completely in harmony. The dining table top, which is greenish grey, it's complementing perfectly to the wall, which is giving it a background. That is again the color we chose after choosing the dining table. So that green color is giving it a very complementing look. Not just the glass, but also there are thin strips of metal with a glass artwork in between. This is the mandir, since they are Jain, so they like to stand and they pray. So what we did, the backdrop here is marble. It's mother of pearl inlaid marble, and the wood, the entire carving on the wood is done in Burma tech. But the color, what we did on this was we stained the wood and made it look like a sandalwood. So it is adding to that serenity of the place. And just right bang opposite the mandir, we placed a small Indian divan. And even the wall and the backdrop is again, which is complementing to the divan, that is the cluster of niches. And niches, you'll be able to see the backdrop for the niche is again a very interesting thing. That's a crackled grass there. And then there is a small inlay on the floor as well. So now we move to the den area. So apart from the entire area, which was pretty dark, what we did, we just accentuated with the sofa cum bed, because they wanted the space as an additional guest room for their apartment. And the backdrop to the sofa is very nice veneer, which is burl veneer, and again it was carefully chosen, so it is acting as a painting in itself, big painting you can say. The other side of the den, you'll be able to see the metal, that's a copper sheet mosaic. And the ceiling also, it's completely wood. Ceiling is wood, and that is also done with the paneling effect. The flooring itself is also wood. Only thing we did was we placed this leather chest of drawer kind of a thing in between as a center table. Okay, so now this is a corner for the master bedroom. It was created in such a way like it will give a very cozy feeling to the couple. They can have a cozy coffee here. The wallpaper behind is adding to the ambience, along with that nice lamp which is kept in the corner. And this is the master toilet. Again, the floor is very amazing. It stands out because of the contrast in inlay what we have created. The walls are muted. This is the other side of the toilet itself. The vanity, you will be able to make out, it's a little embossed finish what we have created with the metallic matte gold finish is done over it. And the basin which we have kept over it is again gold line basin, which is complementing to it completely. This is the walk-in closet for them. It's done completely with veneer, and one particular wall was in completely, one side wardrobe was rather completely with the mirror shutters. So that is acting for a dual purpose. It's giving like for the dressing also they are getting a space here. This particular room, it's a guest room. It's a small guest room, come study for their small child. So this guest room, if you can see the background is done with the ready profiles which are in right nowadays, and I think it's going to get revolution also in this interior field, because those are so ready to use, less cumbersome, can be done very easily, very fast. It saves lot of time and money as well. And the wardrobes are out of painted glass, neatly lined with the handle profile and the edge profile here. This is another wardrobe for the parents' room. Here what we have done, the surrounding, because it was from all the three sides, this was surrounded with the veneer, little rustic in look, and the ceiling was done with wooden rafters. But what we did, the wardrobe we did with the color polycoat. So it's standing out amidst the all woodwork. This is one of the toilet for their daughters, and this is quite interesting. The backdrop here is leather travertine, and the basin chosen was very dramatic. And the mirror which we had, which was a set of the part of the basin, that was little small. So what we did, we gave it a background of a big circular mirror at the back. So you'll be able to see there are two layers to it, to the mirror. Then this pendant light again is making it look very different.
That was superb. Surfaces Reporter thanks all the architects and the designers for sharing their beautiful signature spaces. We shall be back again next week with another episode of SR Signature Spaces with Amulya Mica. Stay tuned to meet our guests next week. Till then, you can subscribe to our YouTube channel and follow us on Facebook, Twitter and Instagram.